right, so we got Tonster181 here with us. Tonster, say hi to everybody.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming along. For those of you who don't know, Tonster is a YouTube creator, has his own channel, and obviously has a Twitch channel too, which you just really kind of started, right?
Yeah, I've streamed in the past a little bit, but I don't have that many followers. I just kind of play for the few people that want to come by and watch me. So,
okay, all right. So the other thing is Tonster has given me a whole list of great questions. So you get to be the first one to experience these questions.
Perfect.
So, and then, I'll leave it up to you if you want to give out, any personal information, like your name or, marital status or anything like that, or, but, this is the internet, so you have to be somewhat cautious.
Well, I'm really actually very easy to find. I've been on the internet since like 1993. Been using this nickname for the last close to 20 years, probably. And my real name is Tony. And I am married. I'm 48. I'll be 49 in about 4 days here. And I've got a 17-year-old son. He also plays games, but he does not like World of Tanks. So, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, that's good. I have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, and my oldest son plays World of Tanks. What's on the console or the phone or whatever? What is that? Is that
Blitz? Okay,
Blitz. Yes,
yeah, right. Is are your kids all out of the house yet, or?
Well, yes, 3 of them are. 2 of them. I'm originally from Colorado, and so my sons still live up in Colorado, and they're the youngest. My youngest son he'll be 30 like this year. So, and then I have a daughter who lives in New York, and then my other daughter and son-in-law and my grandkids, they live with us right now, but they just bought their house, so they'll be moving over there here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you mentioned that. So
yeah, it's I kicked them all out of the house already, but they keep coming back.
That's kind of what I understand happens these days. So
well, okay, let's get this started. So, when did you start gaming?
Well, I started playing, like I said, in 1993. I played Air Warrior Online, which was actually AOL, but you're probably talking about tanks. So I've been playing for a long time, but I found tanks on the console probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I played it on the console for a while, even though I'm primarily a PC gamer. And then I decided I'll start an account on PC, and I think that's probably 2.5, 3 years ago that I started playing tanks.
Okay, all right. So on the console, are you playing like Xbox or?
Yeah, it was Xbox back in the day. I actually had a setup where I could use a mouse and keyboard because I'm just absolutely terrible with a controller. Yeah. So I did play mouse and keyboard, and I got pretty good. And actually, it's funny. I live in a small town in Oregon, and I was platooning with this guy, and we became pretty good friends. And I asked him where he lived. And he lives in Roseburg. I've still never met him, but I've got his phone number. So anyway, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah, my first online game was a game called Fighter Ace, and I was playing it, and of course was asked to join a squadron, or as in tanks would be a platoon, right? And it was a fighter, flying fighter game, right? And these guys that I was I guess in a squadron with, they lived in Kansas, and they were driving through on their way out to California, so they stopped off in Denver at the time and stopped by the house. And it was really weird getting to put names and faces with these voices that I've been dealing with for a year. It's interesting when that happens. But
it is. You have preconceived notions of people, and you don't really. And then when you meet them, they're totally different than what your notion is generally.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, so you say you've been playing tanks for at least on the PC for a couple years, and on the console you're playing for how long?
I played about probably a year and a half, but it was real casual. I was probably played 6 or 7 thousand games on it.
What drew you into playing tanks?
I think, well, I'm getting older and I play a lot of Counter Strike Global Offensive, and all my friends are really good because we've been playing forever, and I'm awful because my reaction time is now gone. I've just gotten to the age that it's gone away. So tanks really intrigued me just because you've got a reload time, you've got time between shots. The aiming is not like in Counter Strike, you're dead in a tenth of a second. It takes some time to work people down. So my reaction time doesn't matter as much, I guess, is the bottom line.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, now you said you're going to be 40 something here in a couple days.
Yeah, I'll be 49 in a couple of days here.
Okay, you're still a pup, so
Oh, I know I'm young, but in that regard, I mean, I'm compared to this player base is actually quite a bit older, and I've got a lot of older viewers, quite honestly. But when you're playing a game like Counter Strike and you got these 17, 18-year-old kids, they just crush me. I just can't keep up.
Yeah, I understand that. My sons would get me to play Halo on the Xbox, and like you, I couldn't use that little controller to save my soul. But I mean, they would just totally annihilate me, to the point where I just throw it on the floor and walk away.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
So, were you? Obviously, everybody starts off in tanks, and then they struggle. So, were you just a player who picked it up fairly automatically, or did you struggle with it and then decide to improve yourself? Or I mean,
yeah, I thought I was going to come on from Xbox to PC and just own, because the Xbox player base was very young at that time, and I was a very good player on Xbox. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. And I came to PC, and I got handed another story. And so about 15,000 games in, I was still at like 800 win 8, or 800 win 8. And I said, this is nuts. And so I'd always watched streamers and stuff, and I'd always watched other people play, but transferring it to yourself is another thing entirely. But anyway, so I decided I need to improve if I'm going to play this game as my main game.
So what did you do to improve your? I mean, obviously watching streamers, or did you reach out to other players, or?
I watched a lot of streamers, a lot of different streamers, and a lot of different YouTube channels, because I find that usually somebody has a play style, and if you just watch one guy and you can't emulate that play style because you don't have the crew skills, you don't have the reaction time, or they're just doing things a lot of times that you can't do. Like if you try to emulate skill for LTU, you're going to lose because he is just so good, So what I did is I started watching my mini map. That's really what it boiled down to. I knew all of the tanks, and I knew their weak spots and everything, but it doesn't help if you're outnumbered 6-1,
Right. No, you're right. You're right. That is I think that is the number one forgotten thing on the game, and I still forget to look at it at times. It amazes me when I go back and watch my replays. It's like, because when I'm watching a replay, I'm looking at the mini map. It's weird.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We all do that. Going, I mean, I can't count the number of times I've been on a flank and I'm so busy fighting somebody that I don't realize my whole team has ran away already.
Right. Yeah. You turn around and you're the only one there going, hey, where did everybody go?
And then the idea in your head is you want to blame your team, but really it's my fault for not paying attention to what's going on the map,
No, true. I mean, there are obviously times in a game where you may be so far, forward of your team, and they turn and bail on you that you can't get out easily. But you're right. If you're not paying attention to see that everybody who's behind you is disappearing at a fairly quick rate, you have a moment to make that decision to get out of there and probably still play the game. But 9 out of 10, at least for me, it's the I made that decision way too late.
I hear you.
So you obviously, I mean, I've watched a bunch of your videos, and you have a fairly good community of guys that seem to send you a lot of replays. What is it that you what do you give them to help them improve? I mean, I've watched your videos, but for those who haven't, maybe you can kind of explain how you go about your analysis.
Well, I think the first thing is you really don't want to give them too much feedback, because I could sit there and pick it completely apart on what I would do. But the honest truth is, if you watch my stream, I make mistakes too, right? Mm-hmm. So what I try and do is give them a main focus of something to work on if I can. And in watching my replays, it's the same thing. I'm a hyper aggressive player. I always have been. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to watch other people play because they're not generally as aggressive. But yeah, my biggest thing is mini map awareness. And then like when you get into intermediate and higher players, mm-hmm. generally it's all about not just reading the mini map, but knowing who can support you, knowing on the map, where can I go to get out safely? Where can I go to get free damage? What is the tactical situation? Do I need to push even though I'm not? If I want to win the game, sometimes I got to push and die. And, most streamers won't tell you that, but it's the truth, because most people are passive enough that unless you take the bull by the horns, they are not going to push. But it's a very, those situations happen not as often as you think, so you've got to recognize the situation and what to do intermediate right. player wise.
Right. I think I understand what you're saying. Knowing when to give up the hit points, right? And maybe cause that one break in the game where all of a sudden a light bulb goes off in your teammates' heads and they go, "Oh yeah, we should attack."
Right. It's and sometimes it's pushing forward enough. I've had it happen 100 times. I'll push forward, my whole team pushes forward, and then they push past me, and I end up, because I'm now on low hit points, I'm able to sit there and snipe mm-hmm. and still support the team and keep my gun active, and then we win the game that way. So yeah, there's that's what's so interesting about this game, is it's more chess than it is shooting pixel tanks, really. You're trying to figure out where you can go to be the most effective.
Okay. All right. So what do you think is your biggest strength and or weakness when it comes to the game?
Well, my biggest weakness for sure is that I don't always play tight games. I play, yesterday I played, and I play too long. So I play hyper aggressive, and I'll just continue to do that even though it's not working. If I play tight games, I can reach Unicum stats pretty easy, mm-hmm. but I don't. Oh, I know I'm doing something stupid, and I do it anyways, right?
Okay.
So anyway, but then my biggest strength is that I do know how to play tight, and I know how to play how to read the mini map. And probably, like, if I'm in a one-on-one versus someone that statistically is better than I am, I will almost always beat them because I know what they're going to do.
Okay. Is that just because you think most, I guess not, maybe Unicom or upper tier players, they all do basically the same type of maneuvers or meta, or?
They're going to make the safe play. They're going to make the play that they believe puts them in the best position to kill you without taking damage. And so you think, what would I do if I was them? And pretty much you're able to counter them.
Ah, okay. All right. Now, you obviously have a favorite tank. What tank is that?
Well, right now, it's always been the T-34-3, but the Progetto 46 is really growing on me just because you can put so much damage out.
Now, how do you compare that to say the T-43-3, which is a little wildebeest of a tank? I mean, it's got the armor that the Progetto in no way, shape, or form has. I mean, so did you have to? You obviously had to adjust your playstyle, right?
Yeah, you definitely play differently. I mean, in the Progetto, you're going to play a little bit more passively, than I do in the T-34-3. But it's got excellent gun handling. So and you've got that 720 effective alpha. So in some cases, you can be more aggressive than you would in the T-34-3 because you know that you can kill somebody, right?
True.
So it's but in general, you play more passive and use your view range and your bush mechanics a lot more.
Now, are you in playing the Progetto? Are you one of these guys that shoots all three and then reloads, or do you shoot two and save one for the second? Always try to keep one in the chamber. Or?
It really really depends. If I can get an important kill, I will always shoot three.
Okay.
But it's very that's a very deep question, I guess. But for me, and especially if I'm in a tier 10 game and I've got shots, I'm going to burn all three of them because I don't know when I'm going to get that opportunity again.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think that's the way that most people tend to play it. Is if you can get all three in there and escape for the reload in a safe place or hide in a safe place where you can get the reload, then why not? And if it's the possibility of getting that kill, I found myself in that way. The only tank that I've ever noticed that hurt me with that would be the Progetto 65 because the reload is such a painful reload anyway. But
ironically, I haven't ground up the Italian line at all, and I have like this wicked crew in my Progetto 46, but they're trained to the Progetto 46.
Yeah. Well, that. Do you have a least favorite tank?
Yes, easily. It used to be the M3 Lee because I've ground the American line on the Xbox and then the PC, and you have to play through it. Well, they changed the way the lines work, but you had to play through it for like 30,000 XP so you could get the medium and the heavy line. So I used to hate that. But since I've gotten the AMX 65T, that is probably the worst tank in the game.
Really. I haven't gone up the French heavy line, so I couldn't speak to that, but
yeah, it's got no armor. It's really slow. The gun handling's bad. It's just, I just don't know how anybody does well in that thing.
Huh. So then, what is your favorite class of tank?
Definitely, it used to be lights until they put the wheeled vehicles in. Now it's got to be mediums.
Okay, all right. And I guess since you brought it up, I'll ask you the $1 million question. What do you think about the wheeled vehicles?
They're terrible for the game. They just are. Especially when you get up to tier 9 and tier 10, games are over so fast because the maps are not designed for the speed that those wheeled vehicles can go. Right. They can spot your entire team, and most people cannot hit them. And if you do hit them, oftentimes you hit a wheel, or the way their hull is shaped, you just hit the wheel, no damage. And then they could fire running at 100 kilometers an hour on the move and hit you. Mm-hmm. The game wasn't designed for it, and the network that they've got set up is not designed for something that fast. It has really, I think tier 8 now is the tier I like to play just because of the wheeled vehicles.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy tier 8 too. I just always get tired of being on the bottom tier of a tier 10 battle. But
I mind that less sometimes because you're less of a threat and people don't focus you as much. Mm-hmm. I get already focused a lot, and so if I'm in a tier 8 they're less likely to attack me. But I can tell you, if they have XVM, they will still attack.
Yeah. Now, would it be safe to say that, well, since wheeled vehicles are not their own class, what is your least favorite class?
Well, I have like 200 games in Artie, and that was before I realized I could just do the missions without doing Artie. And so that is by far my least favorite class.
Ah, okay, all right. I find Artie. I don't play it a lot, but I do tend to play it when I'm get tilted. When the games just sent me off, I'll go and jump in my Artie and feel like I'm giving back to back to the game.
I think a lot of people, let's say you're an average player, you're 800 to 1,000 win 8, and you're playing a game, and Artie might shoot at you once or maybe even twice.
Right.
And but people, there's going to be people that come on here and say, Artie focus isn't real. Well, jump on my account and try and play for a little bit with 3 Arties. I mean, they just, as soon as I'm spotted, they're on me, and so, and it's really an unfair mechanic. It really is, because they can shoot from safety. And so I really despise it.
I fully understand that. So what would you already said you're hyper aggressive. Is that your play style no matter what you're playing, whether it's a TD or maybe you don't play TDs or heavy tank or light tank or
No, I'm anything, any mediums with armor, I'll play very aggressive. Any heavies, I play aggressive, which probably to my detriment. I'm not very good in heavy tanks because of it. My light tanks, I usually play ultra aggressive at the very start, unless there's wheeled vehicles, and then I try and play a more tight game, because I want to get that information for my team so that they know where the enemy is dispersing to.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. I find the kind of the same issue. I'm a medium tank player. I play a lot of mediums, and I struggle in heavies. I do okay in TDs and that, but yeah, heavies I think it's because I tend to try to play them like they're a medium, right?
Yeah, and you can't do that. And there's a lot of peeking and poking, and I just find, people load gold. If I'm in an IS-6, I have no chance against E75. So where do I go and what do I do? I mean, I've got that tank 2 marked, but at the same time, it's just really hard for me to sit there and trade shots with people all day long.
Okay. So do you have a favorite map in the game?
Oh, that's a good question. I like open maps because I think it gives everybody a little something to do. Light tanks, medium tanks, heavies, TDs. Everybody's got a role in a rather open map. So I would say probably like a Miravanka, Redshire, those type of maps, Prokhorovka. Those type of maps are my favorite. But I wouldn't say that I've got a favorite one.
Do you have a least favorite?
Mines. It's not set up for the tiers that they've got playing it.
I love jumping. Playing. I play ranked battles when it comes out. At least I try to, and I love it when you drop into mines in a pure tier 10 game. I mean, it's just like really.
I know, and then one side is just destined to lose because of the way the map is set up. unless the North spawn makes mistakes,
yes,
then you're through on the south spawn. I think it's the south spawn.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk a little bit about your community or your stream. I mean, you just started. You've been streaming for a little while now, not a long time. What do you think about Twitch?
I like it. I think it's a fun way. I mean, I've watched forever, so it's a fun way to interact with your community, and also it shows them that I'm putting up my best games on the channel, right? and other people's best games. But it shows them that consistency is much more important than getting that 6,000, 8,000 damage game, and so in real time they can ask questions, and in real time I can show them what I'm doing and why. So it's really fun, and I think it's a great outlet for us.
Yeah, no, it is. When you're streaming, what is the hardest thing you find about streaming?
I'm not as focused on the game. If I don't play as well, I'm not as focused on the game because I am trying to interact with people. I'm trying to explain what I'm doing. If I'm just quiet, if I put my stream on no voice last night for about an hour, and I was just kicking butt. But then when I actually sit down and try and talk while I'm streaming, I just don't have the practice at it. That's all.
It is something that I still struggle with in talking, while I'm playing. It's amazing when I'm not streaming, I'm talking to myself the whole time. But when I turn the stream on, it's like I go Mr. Quiet. And
yeah. Well, I'm able to sit there and talk. It just takes a lot of focus away from the game for me. And so usually when I'm talking to myself, if I'm not streaming, it's because I'm mad at myself because I did something dumb.
Do you ever get frustrated with the game of World of Tanks? I mean, does it ever just send you over the edge?
I really used to, but I've taken to personal accountability. If I die, I consider it my fault because that's the only way you can stay sane playing this game.
Okay, that's a unique way of looking at it. I mean, I've run into a lot of people that say, "Yeah, I did something stupid," but then there's still the time where it's like, what is my team doing? That I think people still say, no, the team didn't do what I went out and did what I was supposed to do.
Well, I agree with that to some extent, but you've got to just realize that you can't win every game. Right. I mean, the best players are at 70%, so they're losing 3 out of 10, right?
Right.
So you just have to realize that some games are unwinnable, and you have to learning to work at the intermediate and higher level. You got to learn to work with what you've got. The hand you're dealt sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I'm kind of jumping between two different subjects there, but the wanting to know if you got tilted was something that I'm trying to find out because you can generally tell some players. When I interviewed Shmuel, I could tell that there were certain things that probably tilted him pretty good. Just by the way he expressed himself on certain aspects, but you always seem to be pretty on all your stream or on your videos that I've seen. You seem to be pretty just even keeled, straight. No raise in voice, lower in voice, that type of a scenario. So.
Yeah, the only thing that really tilts me is if I get focused by Artie really, really hard and there's really nothing I can do on open maps where there's nowhere to hide. And every time I get spotted, they're shooting at me. It just, that will upset me. And it's only because I have no answer for it. If it was a tank destroyer, I could blind fire them, Right. If it's somebody in stealth, good on them. They're using bush mechanics well. I'm not, obviously, because I'm spotted.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think that's probably the only thing that can tilt me. But I have a lot of players on my blacklist because they have already focused me.
So you put all your Artie opponents on a blacklist, do you?
Not every Artie opponent, but if they focus me, I mean, I'm not talking shooting at me once or twice. I mean, some guys will only shoot at me. They will hold their shot and wait for me to get spotted.
Right.
And I've been shot at 15 times in a game, especially in tier 6, tier 7 games, where you've got lefts and things like that fire fast, or M44s will do that. They'll sit there and every time I'm spotted, they'll hold their shot for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't see it. Obviously, I don't see it. Well, not obviously, but I mean, I don't see it a lot. I can tell, when I'm in a game, if I'm getting artied, generally I can tell it's because of the tank that I'm in. It's probably a top tier tank. I'm in a battle where I'm in the upper tier tank, and that's why I'm getting focused. Because they're trying to take me out. But obviously nobody knows. I don't think anybody's out there purposely aiming for me.
Well, what's funny is with the anonymizer, you can really kind of tell. They do still have gun mark mods that they can tell how many gun marks you have, which a fair amount of my tanks are 2 or 3 marked, and so they can tell that way that I'm a decent player or whatever. But even with still discounting that, with anonymizer on, I can tell a massive difference in the arty focus.
So you do use the anonymizer?
I have. In fact, I turned it off the last few days because I figured if I'm streaming and I'm creating content, I probably should be visible to other players so that if they see me in game, I can say hi to them and they can say hi to me and that kind of thing.
Oh, that makes sense. So, talking about your YouTube channel, what got you started doing that?
I think it's my play style's different than most. I'm far more aggressive, and I wanted to be able to teach people how to play that way. Also, I played 50,000 games, and I've done a lot of dumb stuff, and I want to help people skip that process and help them to learn how to play the game, what to do when. And just if I can help one guy get better at World of Tanks, I feel like I've done my job.
Okay. Well, and well, I guess was it hard to get started? Basically, almost coaching other players.
That's funny that you asked. I have a twin brother. His name's Combat Ineffective in game, and that's what got me started on the video. Partially is that he started from zero, and he's actually a pretty good player. And so, but he's learned. I've taught him kind of how to play the game. And I thought, I should make videos because there's a lot of people that are making the mistakes that he's wanting to make, but I'm telling them, no, don't go there. And so I figured, well, I'll start a channel and see what happens.
Okay. Well, so that's the only way to do it, right? I mean, it's get out there and start it and see what happens. And I did not know that Combat Ineffective was your brother, so now he pops in and gives me comments on my channel every now and then. So,
yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah,
he's actually playing tanks right now. I jumped on because I thought maybe you would give me the Discord through that chat. So,
okay. Well, let's see. I guess. What is it that you like? I mean, what are some of the things that you like about World of Tanks? And then, of course, on the backside of that'll be the things that you don't like.
The things that I like are the game. I think that the game in general is very fun, obviously, or I would not play it. But there are some detractions from it. Artillery and wheeled vehicles being the main one. If I was... and also gold spam, the premium ammo thing is tough. And the only way to really balance it is to have single tier games, I think, because if you don't have single tier games, then you're playing against a tier 10 and you're a tier 8. So not only are you spending more money in game, but you're doing less damage if they follow the model that they're doing in the sandbox now. So how do you balance that? But I understand wargaming's got to make money too. So those are probably the three main things I dislike.
Okay. Now, where do you stand on mods or XVM?
I used to use mods. I used to use XVM, and I used it mostly to find out who was good on my team and what they were doing. And a lot of people use it to focus somebody or whatever, but I used it as a learning tool. I don't agree with it really being in the game, but it is in the game as far as seeing other people's stats. So I would say to my viewers, if you feel like it gives you an advantage, use it, until they get rid of it. So
Right.
that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't care about any of the mods. Some streamers are like, oh, mods are cheating. I don't really use any. I've got a replay manager and that's it at this point. But I could, if somebody wants to use mods, that's fine.
Yeah, I really enjoy the replay manager and the last shot, so I can kind of see where are they shooting me at, and how did that hit me? I've recently taken to the XVM. Just simply because I was having a hard time, and maybe you can help answer to this question: is when you jump into a battle, do you when you hit a certain map in a certain tank, do you play it a certain way, or is that a constant? There's some. It could be different just based upon what you're seeing on the other side or what your team is doing. I mean, when you go into a battle, what are the things that you look for?
Well, the first thing I look for is what tier is on the map. How many really? I usually look for fast tanks and really heavily armored tanks, and also tank destroyers that might be in a position that if I get too aggressive could punish me. But mostly I do have certain places I like to go in certain tanks, but if my team does not follow through with that, I don't go there because, again, you're one tank against six. You're not going to win that no matter how good you are.
Right. So are you a player that, I guess when the clock hits 0, are you immediately out of the gate, or do you just kind of wait to see where everybody's going? Or
oh no, I'm out of the gate right away. That means that once in a while I will have to turn around, but generally I'm out of the gate right away because I know where I want to go. And sometimes if you can get to a position, some positions are strong, but you're far enough away you can get out if you need to. And so that's oftentimes what I'll do. And once the enemies are spotted, then I figure out my real game plan.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I mean, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to discuss?
Not really. You did bring up a good point, and I think about starting games. I think maybe I need to do a video or two on that, on what, because intermediate players oftentimes need that information. They need to know why I'm going where and why it's significant certain tanks are on the enemy team. So I think you brought up actually a good idea for a video for me.
Well, being a sub 50% player, that is probably everybody's always said, and I've read the forums and read what your opponents are. And for the life of me, it's taken me, it's probably been one of the hardest things I've had to work on is what is it that I'm looking for? I mean, but when I've talked to guys like you or to Guido or other streamers and pose that question to them, can you explain to me what your thought process is so that I can try to understand what when you're telling me this, what are you thinking? So yes, I think that would be an excellent video for guys like you who can do that and explain it. Because I can't. I'm getting to the point where I tend to look at them and go, okay, I have a good idea where they're going to go. But it is one of the things that I've struggled with. So to that, yeah, I would say that would probably be a great video. I know I'd watch it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think I will make that. No, I don't have a whole lot to add. I mean, my YouTube, if you guys don't know, is YouTube/Tonster181G. And my Twitch is twitch.tv/Tonster181.
Right.
And so you guys are welcome to stop by. And I really encourage you guys to watch Bonzi's channel as well. It's I've been trying to kind of support your channel and linking to it in my videos and stuff, because I think
appreciate that.
us small guys need to stick together. You know, we need to kind of grow our communities together.
Yep. No, I appreciate that, and you know, I'll definitely put the links up on the video when I get it all edited out, so they'll be on there. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, Tonster, and to participate in the Average Joe interviews.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.